For the last several weeks, we've been dealing with endless severe weather outbreaks with tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail happening across a large chunk of the United States. But as we go over the next couple of weeks, the weather pattern is going to be very strange, at least from what we've seen for the last several weeks now, with endless severe weather to a completely different weather pattern across a large chunk of the United States. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what that means in terms of the weather for your location, and as well as when we'll be seeing our next big severe weather event. So we're going to begin first with what's happening there across the United States right now to kind of give you an idea of what's going to be happening for the next few days. This is what we're looking at on the infrared imagery earlier this morning back over in parts of the central and southern plains. We had a large complex of thunderstorms develop, which by the way is still going right now across parts of Texas and Louisiana. But this is where another severe weather event originated from last night and is still ongoing this morning back over in areas like Texas and Louisiana, where some damaging winds will continue, but overall severe weather threat is starting to dwindle, and this can all be blamed due to this very large low pressure system and also very strong low pressure system that's all the way back up into Canada. This is allowing for a very strong southerly pull of wind, allowing for a lot of moisture to actually go all the way back up into here into parts of the Midwest and even into parts of Canada, where we actually had a couple of tornado warnings there yesterday. But overall, this is all going to start to shift a bit further to the east as we go throughout the day today, and we'll actually be watching for a low-end threat for severe weather in the Midwest, another one over in the Ohio Valley, a small one back over in areas like Maryland and as well as Virginia, and then also another small one back down in Texas. But overall, the threat of severe weather is starting to go down. So you might be wondering, when are we going to start to see more big severe weather events? Well, let's talk more about the weather pattern that'll be happening over the next several days. And to look at that, we are going to look at the jet stream, which does give us an idea of the weather patterns that are happening across the United States. So right now we have a large scale low pressure system that's back over just north of North Dakota. We have a large high pressure system as well in the southwest, which is going to keep things very dry and also very warm for those in the southwest. Areas like California, Arizona, Nevada are going to be dealing with the potential for record breaking high temperatures. On the flip side of things, we'll be dealing with a very strong and penetrating jet stream back over in the northern plains, and this will continue to bring the chance for showers and thunderstorms to both the Ohio Valley and the Northeast today, tomorrow, and perhaps even into Friday, where the weather pattern will still remain pretty active. And you'll notice as we go into Thursday into Friday, that low pressure system will take a seat right over in the upper Midwest and as well as in the Great Lakes region. And what this is going to do to our overall weather pattern in the United States will actually be very interesting. So once we go into Friday, Saturday, into Sunday, just look at this large low pressure system literally just circling up there in the Northeast. And notice the timestamp here. We're on Saturday. We're going to have a large high pressure system trying to sit there in the southern plains, but we might get a small low pressure system to kind of go into Texas as we go into Saturday and Sunday. That could kind of refuel and basically re-energize the southern plains and bring some showers and thunderstorms, as we will still have a strong jet stream in the Midwest. That will at least allow for a potential for showers and thunderstorms Saturday into Sunday. But notice this as we go into Monday, into Tuesday, into Wednesday. What in the world is going on here? Well, we're eventually going to just start to see these low pressure systems that are going to continue to come off of this large scale low pressure system, some shortwave troughs as well, and this will basically just continue to bring the potential for some showers and maybe some thunderstorms to areas like the Ohio Valley and the East Coast. And then once we go into the middle and end of next week, notice the European model is currently showing a jet stream that is way back up to the north, still a large scale trough on the East Coast, but notice right in the smack dab middle of this, we are going to have a potential at least for an omega block pattern. Now granted, this is over a week out, things could easily change between now and then, but it looks like for at least right now, an omega block pattern would be a possibility at the end of next week. What that basically means is that warm and dry weather will dominate for most of the country, while we could end up seeing a trough ejection over the Rocky Mountains at some point by next weekend, but things really remain uncertain, as again, we are still several days out from that happening. Now, I do think as we go into the middle and end of June, we are going to deal with a very active weather pattern again with multiple severe weather events. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second, but here's what we're looking at on the 500 millibar height anomalies, and what really is important here is the blue. When you see these blue colors, that is going to represent a deepening trough and overall just an area where we'd be looking at more potent shower and thunderstorm activity, and that is what we're going to be dealing with for the next several days, basically in the same exact area, while this warm air mass will be basically all across the west and southern tier of the United States, which will keep things relatively quiet in nature, but we should eventually, as we go into the late weekend and into early early next week, start to see some more showers and thunderstorms erupt in the southern plains. But as we go into next week, things look pretty quiet aside from areas like the Ohio Valley and the East Coast, where more low pressure systems will likely bring the potential for some showers and as well as thunderstorms. Now let's put this more into simplistic terms and go into the future radar going day by day and give you an idea of where showers and thunderstorms will be possible and if there will be any severe weather in certain regions. For today, we are going to be dealing with scattered showers and thunderstorms anywhere from the southern plains, areas like South Texas, all the way back over into the Ohio Valley and Northeast. There will be a few areas of severe weather to watch for, which we'll touch on briefly at the end of today's video, but overall the severe weather threat is a low threat. Once we go into Thursday, showers and storms will move into the Northeast and up and down the East Coast, where more severe weather is possible, but it is a very low risk for tomorrow as well. So nothing super concerning by any means. Tornado risk will be very close to zero. Once we go into Friday, more showers will continue across the Northeast. We might get some storms in the Central Plains, maybe some severe weather, but overall does not look super concerning as of right now. By the time we go into Saturday and as well as into Sunday, showers and thunderstorms will continue across parts of the Southern Plains and back into the Mississippi Valley. Overall, again, severe weather should remain a low risk. I am not expecting anything super substantial, maybe some large hail, damaging winds, maybe an isolated tornado, but it does not appear to be as bad as what we've even dealt with over the last 5 to 7 days. In the last 5 to 7 days, if you remember, have not even been that high of risks. We've had a few enhanced risks, but they've been pretty localized overall. Once we go into Monday of next week, those showers and thunderstorms will be mostly focused to the Gulf Coast. Notice all of this area here in the Midwest will be dealing with really just nice weather overall. Not much shower and thunderstorm activity. By Tuesday of next week, we might start to see something on the East Coast, but this remains a question mark. Maybe some sort of low pressure system that's not tropical. And then once we go into Wednesday and Thursday, things become very, very, very uncertain across the United States, but it still looks relatively quiet across most of the country. But that could obviously change in between now and then. So for the next really few days, we'll be dealing with lots of rain across the East Coast, dry weather across all the western tier, including the Rocky Mountains. But once we go into next week and even into the weekend, things will likely ramp up just a little bit, bring some showers and thunderstorms to the central and southern plains, where flooding concerns could still exist, especially in areas like Texas and as well as back into Oklahoma. Now, with all that said, the temperatures over the next 6 to 10 days are going to be a completely different story. Anytime next week during the work week, we are currently looking at a below average temperature weather pattern across both the Midwest and the Ohio Valley and even into the Dixie Alley. Meanwhile, above average temperatures are expected, where some areas could even be at record-breaking high temperatures across the western tier of the country and even back along the Gulf Coast, where there will not be much relief at all when it comes to temperatures. So in terms of the temperatures for the next several days, look at this: below average temperatures in the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley for this weekend. Once we go into next week, we could even get a surge of colder air back over in the northern plains. Now, we're not talking about 20s and 30s, but we are talking at least about some nicer weather here as we get closer to the summer. And then once we go into next week, things might cool down just a little bit back over in the southern plains and the southeast, but that still remains to be seen. And then by the end of next week, things will probably start to warm back up, at least in the Great Plains. Anyway, with all that said, I just want to mention that overall the threat of severe weather in terms of a big severe weather event probably will not come until sometime after June 15th, meaning like some sort of tornado outbreak or severe weather outbreak probably are not going to happen until at least June 15th. So I just want to throw that out there for those that are wondering. Now, in terms of today's severe weather threat, it's not really that big, but we have 5 different marginal threats for severe weather. We have one in parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Arkansas. That's mostly this morning into the early afternoon hours, where some damaging winds will remain a possibility. Midwest, same way. We still have a threat for some damaging winds up there. Also back over into the Ohio Valley, damaging winds, large hail that will be isolated will be possible. Again, notice isolated is the word of the day. Mostly going to be an isolated threat for severe weather. We may see an isolated tornado somewhere in Ohio or over here near Maryland. So just keep that in mind, but it is a very low risk. Do not panic today. Just stay weather aware. And then back over in New England, we also have another marginal threat for severe weather. So 5 different areas for today. The only one I'm going to talk about here is the Ohio Valley, where there is an isolated tornado potential. This is about 1 to 2 o'clock this afternoon. Storms will be rumbling across Indiana and back into western Ohio. Anything that can rotate just a little bit will have a chance at maybe a brief tornado. Once we get closer to 5 to 6 o'clock, those storms are moving towards Cleveland. After 7 to 8 o'clock tonight, those storms are already weakening. So really, I think the greatest chance for a tornado or wind will be sometime between about 2 or 3 up until about 7 o'clock tonight. And then after that, I think things quiet down just a little bit. So overall, not super concerned about today. We'll probably not be live, but just in case, subscribe to the channel and we'll keep you posted with the latest.